Yeah.
I think
We'll
there's
see
one
that.
critical
We'll see
thing
back.
where it comes to Max Verstappen right now, because again, him being 62 points ahead of Lando, that's one thing. But right now, if you're Max Verstappen and you're sitting there and you're thinking about at least your near future, again, 2025 might be sorted where he probably sticks around with Red Bull because there's no other option available. For 2026, I think there are three options. There's Mercedes, there's maybe an option with Aston, and then there's the option of sticking with Red Bull.
Mm.
Now, if you're Max Verstappen, ideally these are because I don't think there's any other option in. I mean, it doesn't really make sense anything else for him.
Ferrari.
But in these three options, which one do you think actually makes sense, and which is probably the dumbest one that he'll actually do?
I think the problem for me is like,
We have to do a lot of gambling in this case. Honestly.
yeah, like, because the thing is, like, if you're going on just out and out probability of who's going to be best in 2026, you'd have to gamble.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it in a slightly more structured way. Let's go step by step. First of all, let's talk about Mercedes. Why it would be a good fit and why it would not be a good fit. For Mercedes, why do you think it would?
I
will be
think
a
Mercedes,
good choice?
in terms of just if you're gambling on who's likely to do well in 2026, even with Aston Martin looking there, it's all like potential form. They've never done it before. So
Yeah.
you can't say it's 100%. As much as me and you, I think, we think they're going to do great things. A lot has to get into place there. Whereas Mercedes is like Red Bull, a team that knows how to win, and they've done it before. So
Yeah.
I think Mercedes is the only logical choice for Verstappen, unless he wants to kind of put all of his faith into Aston Martin. And the other thing that I think would be off-putting for him at Aston Martin is exactly what we talked about earlier. Like, he's going to want an absolute, like, Lance Stroll, if I'm winning the championship,
He
I get
wants
favor.
complete, efficient working operation.
Whereas with Lance
operational
Stroll
team.
being there, I think Alonso can go into...
That already.
Yeah, with like, it's ironic that we've talked about this and I've said no, you won't. But I think if Verstappen's thinking about it, he is going to have in the back of his mind that, well, Lance Stroll is the owner's son, so he's not gonna. I'm not going to get 100% favoritism over him, all of the time. Whereas Alonso, I think, kind of is more in the case of, well, I'll just beat him anyway. I don't give a shit, and he's old enough that it's kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
I've been there. I've
Doesn't
done that,
matter. He's basically playing with house money right now.
Yeah, like Alonso has nothing to lose. Whereas
Yeah.
Verstappen has a lot to lose, because
Precisely.
Verstappen also isn't going to be there.
If he's talking about
after.
leaving Formula 1 by 31, 32,
So he's
so
going
in
to
that
want
case, you don't have that
everything.
many years left.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Mercedes is the only option there. I still think, unless
Why do you think he will not go to Mercedes? What is one thing that will stop him from going to Mercedes?
previous arguments with Toto, maybe Russell being there, Kimi Antonelli
Russell
being
won't
there.
be there.
Yeah, Kimi
Antonelli.
maybe. Yeah, it's like having literally two Verstappens in the seat, isn't it? Like,
And Toto likes one more than the other.
Well, Toto's going to prefer Kimi if Kimi works out. If Kimi doesn't work out, he'll prefer Verstappen. But if Kimi works out, that's his prodigy. That's his next kind of homegrown Lewis
and
Hamilton.
that is his long-term prospect, and that is someone who's going to be loyal to him, and that is someone who's going to stick around and cost less, probably for the time being.
This is why I think, personally...
And that is why personally, in my view, I don't think Max should go to Mercedes, because Toto might be all smiling and all making great compliments and everything, but if there is one driver that can tell you that when the time comes, Toto will not think twice, I think it has to be George Russell, who has been completely sidelined at Mercedes already, even though he's probably been the better Mercedes driver right now.
Yeah. I just think that Verstappen... Look, I think Verstappen probably knows, like all you have to do is look at Vettel. Like, Vettel had a ton of options after 2014 except the right one, except Mercedes. And I think Verstappen knows that that's probably just how Formula One plays out. And I reckon that the reason I've said this a few times before is I think, against all odds, there's a good chance that he either takes 2026 off, or stays with Red Bull. The only other punt I think is Mercedes, because that's the only other option that makes any sense. Aston Martin, I just don't think so because of Lance Stroll being there. I just think that's the one. And also, well, maybe he does, but I just don't think so. I just don't see it. It just doesn't fit right for me. And I think I've predicted this, but I still, it was a wild prediction. But
I think for me, the worry has to be,
I think
if I'm Max and sitting right now, there are a few things that appear great. And then there are a few things which are a complete unknown.
Well, look, what does Max want to do, though?
Sorry?
What does Max want?
He wants a fast car.
He wants to win, right? So, like, the thing is, if he goes to...
I think the biggest problem for Max right now is that
everything's
ideally,
unknown.
Red Bull firing on all cylinders is the team he would want to be with, and he would want to retire at. But the manner in which, honestly, Jos Verstappen is burning the house down, where he does not relent when it comes to calming things down. When Max is really desperately trying to calm things down, it does not seem sustainable, because Jos, whenever Red Bull does well, he's going to give all the credit to Max. Whenever it does not do well, he's going to shit on Red Bull.
Yeah.
And that's not a sustainable combination, because every time this thing goes out in the media, there will come a time when there will be questions asked of Horner, and Horner does not shut up. Horner will start barking back. And once that starts happening, and it's not ideal. You cannot have... They might survive 2024. They might even survive 2025. But I don't see it going beyond that.
But this is the thing. I can see him...
Unless Max has a huge falling out with Jos Verstappen, which I don't see happening either.
No. I just think... I think the problem is he either... Like, it's either Mercedes or Aston Martin, right, that he goes to, or stays in Red Bull. It's one of the three. Aston Martin, as much as I think that would be amazing and stuff, it also means that Alonso's gone, which would hurt my feelings. And I don't know because of Lance. Then there's Mercedes.
There is a possible case where Lance is... I mean, that would be the best possible case.
The best position is Verstappen goes alongside Alonso and Lance fucks off to WEC. Ideal. If that happens, perfect. Unfortunately, I just don't... I think if it was going to happen, it would have happened for 2025. So I just don't think
Let's see. Still 2025 is yet to come.
Yeah, we'll see.
Who knows? The lineup is not announced.
I just think unless shit really hits the fan next year, as you said, like Horner and Jos and Verstappen come to like some sort of impasse where like we can't continue.
I think we'll see that this season already.
Maybe.
Because Jos is not shutting up. And the biggest problem is, whatever Red Bull tries to do, there is no quick fix. The next two races are going to be horror for Red Bull. I'm telling you right now. It's going to be the fourth fastest car in Baku. Maybe it will be the third fastest at best, but not better than that. Max is not fighting for a podium in Baku. And then you move to Singapore. It's even worse.
Nightmare. And then it's all on the Austin upgrades, isn't it? They have everything. Basically, if what they bring to Austin doesn't work,
that's it.
Then
season's done.
Well, if what they bring to Austin doesn't work, then realistically, it's not up to Verstappen whether he wins the championship or not. Because the simple fact is,
to him. No, it's still up to him. But
what I mean is, we all know that Max, after Hungary was the one melting pot, right? But since then, I think Max knows kind of where things are playing out now, and I think that Max will maximize every single weekend. So I think whatever the car can do, he will do. It's up to Red Bull then to do strategy and pit stops and everything else. But the point is, it's kind of then out of Max's hands, because if Max does the best he can do,
if there's a wet race or something,
sure, yeah. But if there is a situation where Max gets does the best he can, and the best he can do in that car is fourth or fifth on average every weekend, then it really is down to McLaren and Norris to throw it away, or Leclerc even. It's not. My point is, it's not really up to Max.
If the Austin upgrade does not work, then it's basically Norris's championship to lose.
Yes, essentially,
that's what
you're
saying, right?
Yeah. Because if that doesn't work, then Verstappen can't. Verstappen will only finish, say, second to fourth every weekend, right? Because out and out. It's not just a
Worse.
case. Because it's not just a case now of having faster cars around him. It's that all of the top teams have top drivers. So
You can't make that much of a
Max
difference.
can't make a huge difference if the car is just not performing. He can only
Yeah.
do what the car... As I love how people say, like, oh, he's overdriving the car. No, you can't do that. You can only drive the car on its limits. Max
Yeah.
will do that. But if the car's limit is fourth, then it's up to everyone around him how well he does. Because then he's counting on the other drivers to throw it away. And unfortunately, there's a lot of other drivers who won't throw things away anymore.
Yeah.
Like, this
And
isn't...
there are a lot of them. It's not
Yes.
just one
This
or
isn't
two.
like
Everyone.
Bottas in the Mercedes anymore. It's Russell and Hamilton. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like this
And
is
it's Leclerc and Sainz, and it's Oscar and Lando.
Daniel
That's-
Ricciardo isn't at McLaren anymore failing. This is Piastri and Norris. Like
Yeah.
he's
They're neck
basically
and-
it's not up to him whether he wins the championship at that stage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
That's what I mean.
8 races, 62 points.
It sounds like a lot, but it's
It
not.
isn't.
It's not
It's
that
not.
much. It's
Yeah.
8 points per race, and even with a shit show at Monza for Norris, he still
got
gained
those
8
8
points.
Yeah.
So it should have been more. That's where McLaren threw it away. It should have been a lot
Yeah.
more. It should have been 25 points.
Yeah.
Well, 15, whatever it was.
25 plus 1, 6,
26,
yeah.
and then where did Verstappen finish? 6th, was it? Or
6th, yeah.
so
He
that
would
was
have
what?
gained 10 more points.
Yeah, huge
So
difference
that's-
over the course
yeah.
of the season.
It's just... Okay, anyways, coming back to it. If you're Max, mid-2025, you see whatever the situation is, what's your next call for 2026?
I think he only has two options really, which is take a punt that Mercedes will get 2026 right, or stay with Red Bull and see what happens in 2026, because I think at that point he can then basically pick and choose where he wants to go. Because I think, like, for example, if Ferrari are absolutely killing it in 2026 and Verstappen comes knocking, they probably take him. It's Ferrari. Even if Leclerc is like, I just won the championship in 20...
I don't think
If
they get rid
Leclerc
of
wins the
Leclerc.
championship in 2026 and Verstappen comes knocking, right?
Lewis is
Fred
gone.
Vasseur is going to go, no, while John Elkann signs the contract, basically. Because John Elkann and
But
Ferrari's
Lewis is
board are
gone.
fucking...
I don't think they get rid of Leclerc. The
No,
kind
no,
of
that's what I
love
mean. They get
that-
rid of Hamilton.
Yeah.
Like, they swap Hamilton for Verstappen immediately. Like, immediately.
I mean, if Max comes calling, yes.
Yeah, immediately. Unless
Without a doubt.
Hamilton absolutely whitewashes Leclerc, in which I don't see happening. But unless that happens, like if Verstappen shows up,
I mean,
the
Leclerc's
point of-
2023 version where he was crashing, early 2023 version where he was crashing a bit.
Mhm.
Maybe Lewis could have. The current version is he's probably one of the best drivers in F1 right now, and there's
Yeah.
no weakness, just no weakness.
Leclerc is getting. I think Leclerc having a couple of bad seasons has actually been a good thing for him because it's helped him get his race form together in
I mean,
many
it's basically
areas.
he's been through the worst possible things that
Yeah,
could
yeah.
have happened to a Ferrari driver.
I think Hamilton is unfortunately for him coming into probably the best Leclerc he could possibly get. That's the problem. So if Hamilton beats
that
Leclerc,
team is a fan of.
yeah,
So,
if Hamilton beats Leclerc, that's going to be a big deal for Hamilton because that's a big challenge, and
Yeah.
I will be the first to praise him if he does. I just don't see it happening.
yeah, and again, in my view, anyways, just wrapping the whole Max thing up.
I think
I
he
think
stays
he-
in Red Bull for 2026.
I think he might go to Aston. Only and only because of
we've done our
Adrian
2026 predictions, and both of us, I think, are talking against what we. Did you?
Newey. No,
You
I
said
picked-
he'd go
I
to
picked,
Aston.
I picked Aston.
I said he'd go to Mercedes, and
Yeah,
now I'm
you-
saying I
you
think
picked-
he'll stay at Red Bull.
Yeah.
But he'll
I-
probably go to
for me-
Mercedes.
Again, if I'm there, I think it's a no-no for going to Mercedes because you don't want a Alonso Hamilton 2007 situation where a Ron Dennis suddenly finds out that the rookie that he's brought in is actually too special and already ready to win a title, and then he slowly starts stacking the deck in his favor. As Max, you don't want that to happen,
but I think
especially
the
if there's a
thing is,
Kimi
Will,
Antonelli in the team.
This is why I think he'll play out 2026 with Red Bull, because the thing is,
do
if
you
he-
really think Joss and Horner can actually coexist until then? Because that would be, I mean, that's the main fight for me, because
Sure, but the thing I think Verstappen himself has gotten to the point where his dad is talking a lot of shit, and Verstappen is a lot, and Verstappen is kind of just either not commenting or kind of just keeping the peace around it and whatever. I think Max is at the point where Max just wants to win. Like I said this earlier, it reminds me. I wasn't like a big F1 fan at the time, but from everything I've heard, it reminds me of Senna. Right? He just wanted to win, and nothing else really mattered. So I think the fact is, if Red Bull aren't winning the championship next year, right? And one team is ahead, I think he's just going to be looking at that and going, okay, if that team is Mercedes and they've caught up and they're doing everything, then I think he looks at Mercedes for 2026. If Aston Martin have their shit together and it looks like they could be the winners for 2026, then I think he looks at that for 2026. If neither of them are particularly brilliant and it's McLaren or Ferrari like way ahead in 2025, then I think he stays where he is for 2026, looks at the field in 2026, and then makes a jump for 2027.
Yeah, that would be a wise decision.
It really just depends on, like, because the order right now isn't necessarily the order in 2025. Like, I think I was so excited for 2025, and now I'm like, I'm not really sure, because at the start of this season, we all thought Red Bull would whitewash it, and right now it's insane. So there's nothing to say McLaren in 2025 will be the best team. You know, it could be.
Look, even McLaren admitted they weren't the quickest car in Monza because they didn't have the tire dig. And I've felt somewhat similar. Again, people have a different view.
They would have if they had played team orders and left clean air, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.